Welcome to the Mohammed's Gamble with Guyana Politics. I'm your host, David Mitchell, bringing you shocking revelations from one of the largest tax evasion cases in Guyana's history. Today we're joined by investigative journalist Sarah Reynolds, who has been following the Mohammed case since the beginning. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, David. This is indeed one of the most significant financial and political scandals to hit Guyana in decades.
Let's start with the staggering numbers. The Guyana Revenue Authority is claiming that Nasser and Azruddin Mohamed owe 191 billion Guyanese dollars in understated income tax, interest, and penalties. That's a figure that's hard to even comprehend.
Absolutely, David. The GRA's audit found that Mohammed's enterprise understated its income by over 34 billion Guyanese dollars over a 5-year period, from 2019 to 2023. When you factor in penalties and interest, the total reached that staggering $191 billion figure.
To put this in perspective for our listeners, how significant is this amount for Guyana's economy?
It's massive, David. This represents a substantial portion of Guyana's annual revenue. When businesses evade taxes at this scale, it directly impacts the government's ability to fund essential services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Every Guyanese citizen is affected when the wealthy don't pay their fair share.
Let's talk about the luxury vehicles involved in this case. There's been particular mention of Lamborghinis.
Yes. One of the most flagrant examples involves Azruddin Mohamed importing a 2020 Lamborghini Aventador SVJ Roadster. According to GRA investigations, he declared the vehicle at just $75,300 when the actual purchase price was $695,000. That single false declaration allegedly defrauded the state of over 383 million Guyanese dollars in customs duties.
And there's an interesting story about that Lamborghini making quite the statement, isn't there?
Indeed. In a show of defiance that many viewed as flaunting his wealth and influence, Azruddin Mohamed actually drove that very Lamborghini to Parliament. Vice President Jagdeh later commented that Mohamed, quote, showed the finger to law and order by driving a vehicle that was the subject of tax evasion allegations, possibly without proper insurance.
Let's shift to the political connections here. Azruddin Mohamed isn't just a businessman, he's a political figure as well.
That's right. Azruddin Mohamed is the founder and leader of the We Invest in Nationhood party, known as WIN. This party contested the 2025 Guyanese general election and won 16 seats, becoming the main opposition party in Guyana. This broke a nearly 70-year streak where either the People's National Congress Reform or the People's Progressive Party/Civic formed the government or the official opposition.
So we're talking about the leader of the opposition facing these massive tax evasion allegations?
Exactly. And that's what makes this case so politically explosive. It's not just about tax evasion, it represents a potential national political crisis. The leader of the opposition, who is expected to hold the government accountable, is himself facing serious allegations of defrauding the state.
What's interesting is that these tax charges were actually withdrawn, weren't they?
Yes, the GRA withdrew all the tax-related charges against the Mohammeds in November 2025, but only to facilitate a U.S. extradition request. The U.S. Department of Justice had indicted both men on charges related to money laundering, mail fraud, wire fraud, and tax evasion in the United States. The Lamborghini tax fraud case was also withdrawn for the same reason.
So there are parallel cases in the U.S. as well.
Indeed. The U.S. Justice Department alleges that Azruddin Mohamed was involved in a scheme to evade over $50 million in taxes. There are also serious allegations regarding gold exports, specifically discrepancies between the amount of gold declared leaving Guyana and what actually arrived in the U.S.
Are there suspicions about where this gold was coming from?
Some analysts have suggested that gold exports by Mohamed may have been a front for Venezuelan gold. This could explain why U.S. authorities place sanctions on Mohamed. It goes beyond simple tax evasion and potentially involves international money laundering.
Let's talk more about Azruddin Mohamed's Win Party. How has he positioned himself politically?
Mohammed was previously affiliated with the People's Progressive Party/Civic, but broke away to form WIN. His party presents itself as a business-oriented and populist alternative in Guyana's traditionally two-party landscape. He's been described as a disruptive candidate who gained popularity through generous donations, including cash, vehicles, and even new homes to citizens ahead of the September 2025 election.
So he's using his wealth to build political support.
That appears to be the case. Mohammed is involved in construction, transportation, trade, and gold sectors. His wealth has allowed him to present himself as a businessman who can deliver immediate results, as opposed to traditional politicians. His populist approach and direct financial assistance to citizens has resonated with many Guyanese who feel left behind by traditional politics.
What's the broader impact of this case on Guyana's governance and economic future?
This case has profound implications. It undermines the foundations of a transparent, rules-based market economy that Guyana needs for long-term prosperity. When powerful individuals appear to operate above the law, it erodes public trust in institutions and discourages legitimate business investment.
The Attorney General of Guyana made some strong comments about this case, referring specifically to that $191 billion figure.
Yes, he emphasized that while there's been much discussion about legal fees for the extradition process, the real issue is $191 billion in evaded taxes. He expressed frustration that many who criticize government spending are quiet about this massive tax evasion case.
One legal development was a judge's ruling against the GRA in the Lamborghini case. What happened there?
In November 2025, Justice Gino Persad ruled that the GRA had no power to conduct post-clearance assessments on the imported Lamborghini. The Attorney General criticized this ruling, saying it effectively cripples the state's power to recover taxes. This could have far-reaching implications for how Guyana can enforce tax compliance in the future.
So where does this leave the average Guyanese citizen?
They're essentially paying the price. When the wealthy and politically connected evade taxes, it means less funding for essential public services. It also creates an unfair system where ordinary citizens bear a disproportionate tax burden, while the elite find ways to avoid their obligations.
And this case comes at a time when Guyana is experiencing an oil boom, right?
Exactly. Guyana is at a crucial juncture with newfound oil wealth. This case highlights the urgent need for strong institutions and governance frameworks to ensure that resource wealth benefits all citizens, not just the powerful few. The outcome of this case could set important precedents for accountability in this new era of Guyanese prosperity.
As we wrap up, what should our listeners take away from this complex story?
The Mohammed case represents a critical test for Guyana's democracy and economic future. Will the country establish that no one is above the law, regardless of wealth or political connections? Or will power and money continue to shield certain individuals from accountability? The answers to these questions will shape Guyana's development for generations to come.
Sarah Reynolds, thank you for sharing your insights on this landmark case.
Thank you for having me, David. This story continues to unfold, and I'll be following every development closely.
That's all for this episode of the Mohammed's Gamble with Guyana, Politics. I'm David Mitchell. Join us next week as we continue our deep dive into the issues shaping Guyana's future. If you found this podcast informative, please subscribe and share with others interested in Guyanese politics and economics. Until next time, stay informed and engaged.